Hey guys, it's Kendra
and Andrew,
and we are doing our second video on finance.
Well, it just kind of part two to the budget because there were some good comments in the comment section, and I mean this is a large topic, and again we feel like this is the most important part, so might as well do part two on budget. And
it's like specific questions. I wrote down a lot of questions that you guys had in our last video, so I haven't even showed Andrew this, but I went through all of them, so I'm just gonna kind of like read them off to Andrew and get your insight.
Absolutely.
Okay, so these are all related to budget. Did we say that?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first question is, do you have joint accounts? And your thoughts on that?
Okay, so we do have a joint account. And actually when we got married, we closed Kendra's old account. She used to have, I think it was a Chase account.
Mm-hmm.
So we closed that one, melded them together. But for her stuff now, she has her own account for her business because Kendra basically files as a 1099 in what is that? 1099
independent contractor.
Yeah, an independent contractor. So it's nice to have her own account because she can go through all of her expenses, all of her income.
It's all everything. Just kind of like filed together. So it is easy for me to keep track of that. But we did join accounts when we got married. Our we had like a little marriage counseling by our pastor. And that was one thing he recommended too when you get married, to join your accounts because you are becoming one. Yeah,
and also when we used to meet and talk about our stuff, I like having a joint account because you can go over it pretty easy.
Yeah.
Now I still, like we go over Kendra's stuff all the time too.
Yeah.
Because part of our family budget still includes her stuff. So
right.
It's any income, and any income that comes in for our family, we count as income we make. And then any expenses, whether it's through her business or as a family, those are those expenses.
Okay, a lot of people ask this. How much do you budget for savings when you're trying to pay off debt?
So for savings, again, I go strictly off Dave Ramsey stuff. So initially, if you're looking at the baby steps, baby step one is $1,000 for emergencies. So that's pretty much your savings. I've had savings in the past and stuff, but I pretty much eliminated all of it just to tackle the debt. So
we had more savings than we took that money and used it to pay stuff off.
Yeah, and again, there's going to be people that maybe aren't comfortable doing that, but I put hardly anything. Now my company gives me a match for retirement, so I put 5% of each check because my company will match that. I put it into a retirement account, but other than that, everything just goes towards paying our debts off. Now once we have all of our debts paid, other than the house is not included in like the debt snowball type stuff. But once all those are paid, then baby step 3 is getting 3 to 6 months of expenses, or building your savings account at that point.
But in the beginning, you keep it lower. Okay, and then a lot of people ask about extra expenses. So, like, how do you know how much money to budget for food? How much money do you budget for like clothing and stuff like that?
Okay.
Like, and baby stuff, diapers, all that.
So for like literally every expense, I can just think of it from memory right now. Like I start off, so it's our other house's mortgage. We still pay for the pool for that. We have someone take care of it, and then literally as I list them down, all of those expenses you kind of come up with what you need. Like you don't have to expense yourself so cut and dry that you're living off nothing. Just factor it in. So like for us, right now, our groceries, I have accounted like $500. And so for the month. Yeah, so we usually do like a big Costco trip at the beginning of the month. So like today we did that.
Yeah, but we don't go to Costco every month.
Yeah, and we spent like roughly $200. So for the rest of the month, in terms of groceries, we're only going to spend about $300. Now I also do $500 for restaurants. Now that's where you can kind of make it up a little bit, because we don't spend $500 every month on restaurants, but I include like Starbucks, like everything that's eating outside of our house is included in the restaurants. And those numbers I've kind of come to just by kind of looking at our averages over time. And again, I use that Personal Capital app. And so over time, that's what I set as our average for that.
And for groceries, we aim for about $120 a week.
Yeah.
So we typically spend way less at Trader Joe's, so we try to go there often. But if we go somewhere else, like Sprouts or Ralph's, we'll spend way more. It's insane.
And like in the last video, we were saying how we literally used to spend like $40 to $45.
A lot of people ask like, how the heck did you do that?
Or I think it was per week, right?
Yeah, per week.
Yeah, per week. But we
Trader Joe's,
eat a lot of this similar stuff.
You can do good.
We would make a vat of chili every week.
Uh-huh.
So I ate that every single day for lunch. We had eggs that I'd make for either breakfast or dinner, and then oatmeal. And that was pretty much.
I did a lot of smoothies.
Yeah. It was good for our diets too. You know, we just didn't have much to go on.
Spaghetti squash is super cheap. But what about, and like also, how do you know how to do like diapers and all that?
So for that stuff, because again, I like that app Personal Capital because it delegates all this stuff and says what type of expense it is. So instead of going through and saying diapers or getting in the very nitty gritty, I just allocate a certain amount of money. I just mark as miscellaneous.
So somebody said, I don't have the income to pay off my debts. It feels impossible. What do you do?
So stuff like that, again, this is where part of the reason I like talking about it now is because now we're pretty much toward the end. And so one of the reasons I feel comfortable sitting here, and I paid off $144,000 in school loans. We've paid off all of our other credit card debt we had. We paid off everything, and it's taken time to get there. So when we were first looking at it, it's like, oh dang, this is a mountain. And that's why I think the budget is that's the focal point of all this. Because if you don't budget your money, it does feel like you have a million bills going left and right. How do I take care of this? So the first thing, you got to set your own budget, see what you can spend and how you can bring that down. So each month, so one of the things I do a ton is like car insurance. I change it almost every 5 to 6 months because someone will give me a little more competitive rate. And that's just, I may be saving $10 a month or something, but stuff like that adds up. And so again, you go through your whole budget, you can find ways to save money. And then hopefully, again, this is the goal with all of it. With a budget, you can never be spending more than you're taking in. So if you are doing that, you either have to spend less or make more. And so when I say make more, that's what we did.
That's another question. It's like side hustle, like how to make more money.
Yeah. So I used to do Uber, which was actually really fun. So I used to do Uber. Again, all that money, that would go right into for my loans. And I also did home health. So I'm a physical therapist. I work in an outpatient clinic, so that's my full-time 40-hour job. But then I also did home health where I picked up, I can't remember how many hours, but it was more just a private contractor, so I could go see as many patients as I want. And again, all that money, because I budgeted based on like my 40-hour income. Everything else was just extra. So I just threw it at debts. And when you're throwing them at debts, again, I like how Dave Ramsey talks about it. It's like a snowball effect. So you set your debts up in order from smallest to biggest, and you just tackle one at a time. You hit minimums for all of them, but on the very biggest one or the smallest one, you throw everything you can. So
say you had your smallest debt is your credit card. So you paid that off first, and it's like a small victory.
Yeah, whatever amount you were paying toward that, you just roll it into the next one. You just keep going. Because once we got to my school loans, I mean, we were paying like 5 or 6 times the monthly amount. So that's what sped it up so much, is at the end, we had all this money we'd allocated for paying debts, and it's like, okay, we can just throw it at the school loans. And
also, I was listening to Rachel Cruz's, Dave Ramsey's daughter. I've been listening to her podcast a lot too. I like her. And she was also talking about, like, if you're trying to figure out, like, how can I get more money, sell stuff. And, like, I remember we were doing that sometimes. We go, like, what can we sell around the house? Like, there's a lot of stuff that you don't need anymore, or you can find little ways to make money on the side, I feel like, if you're creative with it.
And going back to the question at hand, a little bit goes a long way. It absolutely, when you're starting, you're at the starting block. I mean, it feels like it's a long road. And so, again, it
feels like you're drowning in debt.
Yes. Yeah. And that's why, again, that's what I see as the point of doing all of this. Because when you're drowning in debt, it's a terrible feeling. I mean, you feel like you have no freedom. You are basically adherent to your debt. So, it's a task we're taking on, because now, we're kind of at the end of this road now. But it's worth it. And honestly, I would just encourage everyone to try and get their finances in order, and then you just start living life and feeling freer.
How much should you have in your checking versus savings? Oh, we'll kind of address that. So just 1,000, if you want to start off 1,000 in your savings.
Yeah, so again, I go by the baby steps. You can look at so many other people who have laid things out.
Right.
Kendra had mentioned Rachel Cruz, who's Dave Ramsey's daughter, Dave is really hardline, so he's not going to accept anything else. Personally, I like that because it's like, look, if I'm going to get something done, I just want to do it. I don't want to take any little side steps or anything.
Right. Owen is with us now.
Owen's joining. He loves talking budget.
He does. Okay. So, a lot of people asked about saving for a college fund for your kids.
Okay.
How to do that, when to do that.
So college fund, again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but
baby steps,
so I believe it's baby step 4 or 5 that literally that's what you start saving for.
Yeah.
Like because once you get off all your debts, you start maxing your savings, your retirement accounts, any of those accounts, you start maxing them out. Part of, and again earlier to go back to the question of like how much, like what do you put in your savings and stuff like that. Part of it is just simple math. Like if you go by the equation, because I understand some people like having savings for security, but again, if you're planning for the future, so a savings account, the rates of return on savings accounts are not very good. Whereas on debt, like let's say, like a car, a car debt is typically like 4% interest. So that's negative. You're losing that much money. So instead of just continue to save and you're making a nominal amount of like 1 or 2%, 2% is huge for a savings account. Nobody really gets that. Just pay off your debts first, and then once you start saving, all this money you've been throwing at your debt, you start throwing it into savings. You don't just all of a sudden start living wild and free, you just start saving all that money. So quickly, you can build up a substantial savings once you've done that. So again, I always refer to the Dave Ramsey stuff because that's what I follow and that's what I live by. And that's either baby step 4 or 5 is for kids. Also,
people were wondering if you're wanting to save for like projects around your house, like doing your kitchen, which is what we want to do eventually, like little projects, like how to save for things like that.
And that's what we have done in the past. So when we've done other projects, that's what we've done is we'll just kind of save some money. Like right now, because Kendra is a private contractor, our taxes, we're going to wait to finish those to see how much we owe with them. Now we pay a certain amount, like an estimated tax quarterly for her. But again, we still don't know what that'll be. So we have a lot of money saved up to hopefully meet all that. Now it's all going to depend, like however taxes end up turning out, we might have a lot of money we're sitting on and then we'll use that to do either finish off paying off the car or do some of those projects. So in the past, we've kind of allocated money for those. And if you follow Kendra and stuff, we've done it little pieces at a time. We've never been able to finish everything all at once. We go, okay, we're going to do the countertops. Okay, now we're going to do this, that, the other. That's just how we've done all those.
Okay, a lot of people asked also about credit cards. Thoughts on them, thoughts on using them for points and building credit and that type of thing.
And so I'm not looking to get into an
argument
with anyone on credit card stuff. If you want to have them and use them and build up stuff, that's fine. Again, we have a credit card, and so like I was saying earlier, we spend about $500 a month on restaurants. My credit card gives me 3% back on restaurants. So I do try and put every restaurant expense on there. But I really don't use the credit card for anything else. Oh, and groceries, because we get 2% back on groceries.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is nice to get some return there.
But now that I think about it, I usually use my debit card for groceries.
And a lot of this goes back to, I kind of like the psychology part of Dave.
I feel like I used to use it, my credit card, but I don't like using it.
Yeah, because Dave is so much with the psychology.
Yeah.
It's like if you start to make it a habit, it becomes a habit. So we make it a habit of really not using it.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not going to argue with someone who's like, oh, well, I use it for this and I get all my airline points. Well, great. But we don't use them and it keeps us out of debt. So again, if you're someone who, loads up your credit card but you pay it off each month, that's totally fine. That's your own choice. I just like avoiding it other than those expenses I said, because it doesn't get us in any trouble with our credit card.
If you don't have a consistent income, how do you kind of plan for that?
Yeah.
So we kind of touched on this in the last video, talking about back when I waitressed and was a nanny, but it's kind of stayed the same for me now because it's not really like I don't have a salary like Andrew does. My monthly income, it's usually around the same, but it's not, I don't know, guaranteed every month. Like it it changes. So how do you...
And that is tough. If you don't have a monthly amount you can depend on, it's hard to estimate for that.
That's why it's nice that at least yours is guaranteed.
Yeah.
Whereas...
But so what I'll say for Kendra is I do have it from the last couple of years. Like I know what she gets on average. So I measure it conservatively. So then what's awesome is on the months that she really makes a lot of money, it's like, wow, this is great. And we just put it all towards paying off our final debt, which is her car. And I hadn't mentioned this earlier. I'll bring it up just because I'm thinking about it. So the whole time we've been married, we really haven't incurred any new large debts other than our house and Kendra's car that we bought. And that one was, again, if you're going strict off Dave Ramsey, you'd say, well, get a used, and actually, so her car was used.
His face.
Hi, son. It was like, it was a year used. It had like 15,000 miles on it. So yeah, Dave would say, well, why not get a 2012 model and save a ton of money? We could have definitely done that. But I figured for my family, this would be something we'll have for a long time. Might as well get that car. So that is the one large debt other than our house we've incurred since we've been married.
So that's all the things I wrote down. Okay. So what else? Is there anything else in your mind that you wanted to talk about that we didn't really cover last video?
I mean, I feel like I'm sure I'll just be repeating myself a bunch of times. If you've ever been with me at PT, I repeat things all the time because I like to hammer home points. But so again, to reiterate everything, I feel like the budget is the centerpiece.
The quiz is coming at the end of the video.
The budget is the centerpiece for financial freedom. If you don't have a budget, you're kind of flying in the wind and you're not necessarily planning for things. And so the budget helps us stay on top of it. I know the savings thing is something that gives a lot of people peace of mind because they're like, okay, well, I have a pool of money here saved for that. For the most part, all the large expenses that would come on out of the blue, we have insurance for. Home insurance, car insurance, health insurance. Those things should cover large expenses if they come on. So we have $1,000 in an emergency fund to cover everything else. If, let's say, tire goes flat or who knows, that should cover that. So other than those things, there's really no reason to, in my mind, there's no reason to have a savings account because let's pay off all these debts. Let's get everything done.
So say, like, we make more one month than we expected. All that extra money that we made, it's like we're not like, ooh, we made a lot more money this month. Let's like go get something. We take all of that extra money and we put all of it, like before his loans were paid off, we would take all that money and put it all towards the loans, like the whole chunk.
Yeah. No, we're very boring that way. No, but honestly,
we would like get excited about, ooh, let's put all of that towards our car.
Yeah.
Or something.
And I feel like in the past, because my school loans, I had to pay like $1,100 a month. And like I was saying, I was paying 5 to 6 times that amount for the last year or even 2, and that really got it down quick. I think sometimes you're thinking, wow, I'm paying way too much. Why can't I use this for something else? Just speed yourself out of there. Get out of that debt. You'll just be feeling so much better. Yeah, so other than that, I can't think of anything else on the budget I'd like to say. I mention it all the time, but Dave Ramsey's a great resource. He has his own... I use Personal Capital, but he has his own app. I want to say it's Every Dollar.
Oh, some people said they use that.
It's a great app. I mean, feel free to use that.
And people are asking about like podcasts, financial podcasts to listen to.
I would say listen to his radio show or his podcast. Dave Ramsey. Get the book, Financial Peace, Financial Freedom. I can't think of the name right now. But it's a great book. It's an easy read. And it'll touch on all these little minutia things that I know are going to come up in people's minds.
And also, Rachel Cruz's podcast is a little more, I feel like it's simplified.
She's a little easier going, whereas Dave is strict and hardline. That's what I like. It's like,
and that's how Andrew
that speaks to me.
That's how he kind of is. So like, that's why I tend to resist things. I'm like, this seems too extreme. So I literally just started listening to Rachel Cruz. And I'd be like, Andrew, she was talking about this, isn't this such a great idea? He's like, I've been saying that to you for years. What in the world?
It's probably a better way to say it to your spouse. Because, again, I'm just going to be like, let's do it. Let's get it done how it should be. And
sometimes when
Rachel Cruz packages it a little softer, a little nicer.
Even if it's because some of you were saying like your spouse isn't fully on board. Sometimes if you have them listen to a podcast or something, it's like when they hear it from an outsider, sometimes they take it better. That's kind of how I am.
Yeah.
Sorry. So a lot of you guys want to know how to pay off your debts. So that's what we will do next.
Well, that's what I would like to do next, because I know a ton of people have student loan debt.
Yeah.
And again, if you're looking at it from afar, it can feel like it's insurmountable and crazy.
Whatever you guys want us to talk about, leave it in the comments, because I just go through them and write them all down. So, or just send me a message on Instagram and then I ask him.
Sounds good. Talk to you later.
Bye.